Not a problem.
It is? So you want me to go ahead and just start talking? Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Donna Mowery. I am the bat lady, I guess, for Franklin County. I do a lot of bat rescue and rehab throughout the county and also in St. Louis area. And what that means is I don't keep them for pets. I actually go and pick them up if someone has an injured bat, or maybe they found one in their house. So then I will go and pick them up and bring them back, check them out, make sure everything's healthy, that they are hydrated, and then immediately get them back out into the wild where they belong. It's not legal to keep wild animals unless you have a license or a permit. So we always want to make sure that we leave the wild animals out in the wild. So I got started with bat rescue with about 7 years ago when I started training, almost 8 years now, with Missouri Bat Rescue. And what we have done over the years is done research, helped with the conservation, with the numbers and so forth. I have a lot of training that I had to go through. I had to get all of my rabies vaccinations and so forth to be able to handle these bats. So it's not something that you want to just take on yourself. There is training and so forth involved. So let's talk a little bit about our bats. Bats are the last flying mammals that we have, so it's very important that we take care of them and save as many of them as we can. There's a lot of myths about that, so I'm going to hopefully, by the end of the evening, clear some of those myths up. You hear a lot on the media, you hear a lot on movies and so forth about bats, and that they're going to fly around and suck your blood and get tangled in your hair and so forth like that. None of that is true. We do have bat-powered bats in South America, but not here in the United States. In Missouri, we have all insect-eating bats, which is really, really good for us because we have little guys that help us take care of our mosquito population. So we have 14 species of bats here in Missouri. 2 of them are endangered. We do have a large colony up in Hannibal that are being protected and watched every day of the endangered bats. So we have one of the largest colonies in the United States here in Missouri. So we're kind of excited about that. Anytime you want to go up and hear more information about that up in Hannibal, or you can check on the Missouri Bat Census page and see more about that as they continue protecting that species. So we have 14 species. What do we have around here? Primarily we have large brown bats. We do have some small brown bats. We have a lot of red bats and some evening bats. Those are typically what is brought in to me for rescue. Occasionally we have some other ones, but those are the majority of the ones that I see. In the bat world, we have winter bats and we have hibernating bats. Hibernating bats will go away for the winter into a cave. Some of the old buildings, barns and so forth, they may take roost in, and then they'll hibernate for the winter. It's not uncommon if we have a couple nice days of warm weather that they come out of hibernation for a short time, eat when bugs are out, and then go back in there. So that's not uncommon. So I get a lot of phone calls in the wintertime. There's bats out. They're flying around my house. What do I do? Not in the house, but even outside. That it's okay, because if they came out of hibernation, they could be out if on a warm day, but also it could be a winter bat. We have red bats or wintering bats, and They are primary or evening bats or winter bats. They will live in brush piles, under leaves, logs, and so forth, and they will stay out all winter long. So it is not uncommon to see the bats in the wintertime. Now, when we talk about some of the bats, I want to give you some fun facts about them. First of all, one bat can eat up to 5,000 insects in an evening. It's a lot of insects. It's a lot of mosquitoes. So it's important for us to keep them in the area. Now, you primarily will see them around areas that have water and that have tree coverage. Not that they live in the trees, but a lot of them will, fly through there and go where the insects and so forth are. Swoop down, eat. When they fly, they catch their insects with their tails, and then they'll eat in flight, and they bring it up to their mouth and they eat it. The membranes between a bat's wings has a little bit of real fine, delicate skin, and their wing looks like our hand with the fingers and their thumb, and then their tail below. So they'll swoop down and get the bug and bring it up to their mouth and eat it while they're flying. They also do this when they drink. They drink in flight. They will skim across the surface of water and drink and keep on going. So some of the insects that they don't like, there's not a whole lot that they don't like. They don't like ladybugs or lightning bugs. I don't know if it's something in the tail or whatever, but they won't eat those. Mosquitoes are like their filet mignon. They'll come after those first and grab those. They also like moths and so forth. And then they usually just eat bugs that are flying. They're not going to go and get a bug off the ground or so forth. Now, they catch bugs in flight using their echolocation. Bats can see at night, and they have very, very good vision, but they use their echolocation to pinpoint where an insect is and how quick it will be there so that they can catch it. So if they have a bug over here, they can actually determine from this point when that bug will be here using their echolocation. Sorry. So what did I mention there just a minute ago? Another myth, blind as a bat. Bats have very, very good vision. So they can see and they can use their echolocation for seeing through the night both ways. Let's see. Then we have the other myths that it's going to get tangled in your hair. Well, that's not true. They are going to fly away from you. They're not going to just say, oh, there's someone here and I'm going to go run down there and get tangled in their hair. They just don't do that. They're going to avoid you like any other animal at all costs. They are going to avoid you as much as you want to avoid them. It's not that you should be afraid of them, but you need to respect them like any other wildlife. Do bats bite? Yes, they do bite. They will bite if you are trying to hurt them, just like any other wildlife animal. So when you find a bat out in the wild, we're going to tell you not to pick that bat up unless you have been instructed on how to do that. And we're going to go over that in just a little bit. The next thing we want to talk about is habitat. A lot of the bats lose their habitat through floods. Missouri had a lot of floods this last few years, and primarily along the Merrimack River when the river levels came up so high, and they filled those caves along the river. Well, unfortunately, they're hibernating. The water comes up, they don't know it's coming up, and then we lose them. So that, along with building, construction, humans, we have a loss of habitat that way as well. So the more habitat loss that we have for our bats, you end up losing more and more of them, and along with the white nose syndrome. I think many of you probably heard about the white nose syndrome. It is a fungus that affects the bats while they are in hibernation, and it affects their nervous system, causing them to wake up prematurely. When a bat goes into hibernation, it will actually lower its body temperature down to where they have a heartbeat of 3 times a minute. That's pretty slow. And when they come out of that, they go and they eat all summer long, and they store all this fat and food and so forth to make it through the hibernation period. But if they're disturbed in some way from their hibernation, it actually causes the bat to burn 65% of their body weight, of their stored fat, to come out of hibernation state. Temper is what you'll hear more often as well. Torpor, I'm sorry. So when they come out of that and they go out and it's a cold day and there's no bugs to feed, then all of a sudden they're not going to make it through the winter because they haven't been able to restore that extra body fat. So when you're out hiking, when you're out walking, and you see bats hanging in a cave or wherever you may, it's always very important to never ever disturb a bat, especially when they're sleeping in the wintertime, because you could cause them to lose this body fat just by waking up and disturbing them. So what we teach the kids in the schools when we do the presentations is, if they're hanging, don't be banging. And that means don't, be banging on the walls or the tree branches or something that you find them on. And then if they're flying, don't be crying, okay? Because they're in the air flying around doesn't mean that they're going to bother you, so leave them be. If you ever see something and you're not sure about it, you can always call Missouri Bat Census, the Missouri Department of Conservation. You can call me or email me. My number's on the website, on the websites, and if you Google me for Missouri Bat Rescue, my name will come up. We're more than happy to always help any way we can to get you educated and get you the information that you need. Let's see. I wonder how many of you have bat houses in your backyards. One way that you can help a bat is to put a bat house up. Now we're going to talk about that for a minute, because we have, when you go to the store, you'll see many different varieties of bat houses. Some will have 2 chambers, meaning when you look up underneath it, you'll see 2 different separate openings there on each side of a board. They do make a single chamber, a double chamber, 3 chambers, and in some areas they actually make 4 chambers. Here in Missouri, we don't really like to go more than 3. We don't go more than 3. I particularly like the single and the double chambers because for a bat to stay in a bat house, it has to heat up to keep it warm during the days and in the evenings. When you start getting a single chamber to a double chamber to a triple chamber bat house, now it gets about this wide, and it's very hard to heat it up when you have the sun facing it to get through all those different layers. So a single chamber and a double chamber will heat up really nice for them. So we do have a single bat house plan that is available that you can contact the Union Library here, and they can get you a copy or email it, whichever you want. You can come down and pick one up that I'll have here for you, and then you can build your own. It's a nice family project. We do a lot of these projects prior to COVID, and hopefully again very soon. I do a lot of programs with Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. I had a Boy Scout group in St. Louis that I worked with, and the young man who contacted me working on getting his Eagle Scout award. So we do a lot of that. We build a lot of bat houses for our program, and then we hung them up in the local parks and city parks. If they'll put them up for you, you need to always ask before you put them up in different areas. You can put them in your house, in your backyard. So I'm going to build a house. Where do I put it? Okay, you want to always make sure your houses are at least 15 feet off the ground. All right, higher the better, but at least 15. You want it to always face south-southwest, okay? That is so that it's capturing the most sun and heating up during the day. You also want to make sure that it is not in a tree. Why? Because their predators are in the tree. Owls and snakes are the bat's biggest predators besides humans. So we want to make sure that they are at least 15 feet up and they are southwest facing. Now, the bat house will explain to you the different measurements and so forth, and what you need to put on that bat house. If you're going to paint your bat house, it's perfectly okay to paint your outside of your bat house. You want to make sure you use a non-toxic latex paint of some sort on the bat house. When you build the bat house, the plan calls for a landing pad. Do not paint that landing pad or anything on the inside of the bat house where the bats are going to live. Okay? Very important. A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to make it all pretty. That's fine. Make designs. Let it blend into nature. And they will find it. Okay? So just make sure that you don't paint that landing pad or the inside, because we don't want them to breathe all of that or to nibble on it, especially when they start having babies. Now, it's important in the inside of the wood where they're going to land and they're going to crawl up into is rough. Okay? I'm telling you some of this because I don't know that it covers all of it on the plans. But that board needs to be somewhat rough so that they can climb up the inside of there. They usually like to go to the very, very top. Once you have your bat house mounted, make sure that you check it on a regular basis. Bats don't like wasps. They're not a whole lot bigger than some of the wasps that we have, so you can imagine that's pretty scary to them. So we want to make sure our bats stay clear of wasp nests. If you see them up in there during the day, spray them out, knock the nest out or so forth so that the bats will return. A couple things you can do to get your bats to start coming to your house. You get it up in the spring. The sooner the better. Because as bats come out of hibernation, they are going to be looking for some place to stay, out of the elements and so forth. This is the best time to start capturing the bats, because once they find a home, as long as they feel safe and everything is good there, they will return to your place year after year coming out of hibernation. Okay? And that's when they start getting more than one, you have a colony. Your colony will grow then. Okay? So, how do I get this colony to grow? Well, you have your female bats that will return every single year. As they have babies, pups, this is what we call them. As the pups are born, the mama will raise them. They're with mom. They usually are born between April and June, depending on how warm or how the summers are and how harsh the winters were. So somewhere in April and June, the babies will start coming, and then they'll stay with mom typically until August when they start flying, September. They can even start flying sooner than that, but they'll hang out with her that entire time. When they stay with mom, or once they're done with mom and they go off in hibernation, the females will come back, even the baby girls will come back, but the boys kind of, hit and miss where they want to go. They're usually on flight all the time. So, what we are going to do then is get your bat house colony to grow that way. One of the things that we have also available that I will make available for everyone is, and this was put together by Kirsten Alvey-Mudd at the Missouri Bat Census. It's a list of plants that she has put together, a presentation that will help attract the bugs that the bats like. Okay, so it's a list of plants that you can put at the base of your bat house and have a real pretty garden. It attracts the bugs that attract the bats. So it's a win-win for everybody. So I will also make that available here at the library as well. Okay, any questions yet? Okay, all right, well, we're going to keep going then. All right, we want to next talk about what do you do if you find a bat? Okay. The two times that I get phone calls year round, but the two busiest times for me are in the spring when the babies are being born, and now at wintertime it's getting cold. People are like, they see a bat outside and they get worried about it, and then they, put it in a shoebox and they call me because he's laying on the ground. So here's what you're going to do. Okay, in the wintertime, if you find a bat, or even in the summertime, if you find a bat on the ground, okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that the bat is injured. Okay, it could have not knocked out of the air by a bird or, anything. Maybe it was hot and didn't have enough to drink and it dehydrated and dropped, okay? Doesn't mean that it's completely injured. But a bat cannot take off from the ground. They have feet. They don't have really legs per se that you can stand on like a bird. A bird can stand up and then take off flying. Bats do fly, but they actually have to drop and fly. So they will actually have to be placed in a tree or an evergreen or someplace high where that they can just, go to the edge, drop, and then they start flying. Which is why we have landing pads for them on their bat houses, so that they can land and they can also drop and fly. So with that said, if you find a bat, what you need to do is this. You need to go and get some thick gloves. You need to go over and scoop your bat up, okay, with a towel, gently, because they're very, very fragile, okay? So go over and scoop them up, and then take them over to an evergreen or a tree, and just carefully place them on the tree. The bat will immediately then start climbing up the tree, or they will take off. Okay, so that's one way you can help them. Now, your bat didn't take off, well, just give it some time. Sometimes they'll just climb up there and look around for a little bit and take off afterwards. If by morning they're still there, then you might want to give me a call, okay? But the best time to put the bat up will be if you find one on the ground, just move it up immediately so that it's not attacked by a cat or a dog or a child pick it up or something like that. So if you do find a bat laying on the ground, just pick it up and put it up on a tree. If you do find one in the house or so forth, because of the winter months and stuff, they're moving around, one may have followed you in a door, come in through a chimney, that had an opening in there or something like that. Put them outside on the tree at dusk and they'll be fine. Now, We don't recommend that you go hunting down bats and looking for them and so forth. We just recommend to leave them alone unless you see them on the ground. If you're nervous about picking them up, that's okay. Give me a call. We'll walk you through it. If I'm close by, I'll come over and do it. But for the most part, we want to let them be. If the bat is injured and it can't fly or so forth, then you'll need to contact someone like myself, and we will make arrangements to get someone to come over and pick it up and see if there's anything we can do to get that bat back in shape to get back out in the wild. Don't use a broom. A broom will break bat's wings. We have a lot of people who think, oh, if I use a broom and knock it down, then I can pick it up and put it in the box. Well, 9 out of 10 times when you do that, it breaks its wing. So at that point, they are not able to be released back into the wild. If you do have a bat in your house, close all the doors immediately to the room that it's in. Wait for the bat to land, and then lay a towel over it. Then go put some gloves on and go over and gently scoop up the bat again, take it outside, put it on a tree, okay? Make sure that you have good thick gloves on and that you use a towel. This will put enough layers of protection between the bat and yourself to keep from being bit, okay? Because we don't want anyone bit. Again, I can't stress enough that just be very careful when you're lifting them up. If you're still having problems or you do not feel comfortable catching the bat, again, feel free to contact us and we will come over and help you. Now, a lot of people are finding out now that they have, or over the summer months, that they have bats in their attic. Right? We partner with a gentleman who is a no-kill, and he will actually, I will contact him and let him know, and give you the information for you to contact him to let him know that you have a situation, and he will come to your home and see if you have a colony inside your attic or where the colony is living. And it might be that you just had one bat get in that followed you in, but you don't have a bunch of them in your attic. But if you do have a bunch in your attic, he will tell you where the opening is and work with you on getting that opening sealed and removing all the bats from the inside and moving them outside. If you take a bat that's outside, you know that you have an opening and you release it outside, it's going to come back. They're going to go back. So if you have a problem with bats in the house, it's important to find out where they're coming in at so you can seal it up, or you're going to continue to have that issue. Again, I'll leave that name and number with the library, but it's just real easy to call myself, and I'll send you all the information as well. Any questions yet? How many bats do I take care of? Well, I had one summer that I had 18 babies at one time. That was a very, very busy summer. I don't want to have that anymore. That was one of the seasons we had a lot of flooding and so forth. When I get an infant bat in, they have to be fed like around the clock. When I say around the clock, just like an infant, every 3 hours, I had to get up and feed all these guys. And then, I go back to bed, and about the time I got all 18 little mouths fed, it was time to get up and do it all over again. They have a specialized made formula for them that they require for their nutrition and so forth, so it's not like you can just give it water or milk or Pedialyte or anything and expect it to live. It's not going to live. Call a specialist that can help you. But I had 18 bat babies, And then the year of the flood, I think I had 27 winter with me because they were disturbed during the winter months, either by the floods or by folks that had found them and brought them in. So they couldn't go back out at that time until the weather warmed up, because we had a very, very cold winter that year. So they stayed with me. Of course they're all in cages and stuff, but I keep them in a very, very cold room, so that they will go back into hibernation, basically, but because they didn't have any food, and then I have to wake them up every so many days or whatever to feed them. In the first opportunity that we can get them back in the wild, they are immediately released. Again, because that's our goal, keep them out. One other thing I do want to mention, if you are caring about these bats, please, please, please do not use glue strips at home. I can't even tell you how many bats are brought to us every year because they've gotten stuck to glue strips. It is very, very painful, long thing for us to work with on these bats to remove them from these glue strips, these glue traps. It takes hours, like 3 to 6 hours, to get a bat off of a glue strip, because you have to work in such a slow pace to try and get the glue off them, if you will. I've had other people that have called and they're like, oh, well, we just ripped it off, but please don't do that. They will not survive that. If you do have one that does get stuck to a glue trap, please contact a specialist so that we can help get the bat removed off safely, ensure that it's kept, long enough to heal, and then we'll re-release it back into the wild. That's a good question. Someone asked how many pups a female bat will have. Normally 1 to 3. Most of them are 1 to 2. We do have occasional triplets. Last year I had someone bring me a red bat, which is a wintering bat. They're really cute. They're orangish in color and they look like little teddy bears. She had 4 babies. She was exhausted. Then luckily, when they got her, they had all the babies as well. So what we did was give her a day or so to get rehydrated. And as soon as she did that, she was able to gather all of her pups up, and she was released back in the wild with all 4 pups within a day or 2. She had a lot of a weight to carry around, and they do fly with them. A bat will actually, when you see them in the cave and you see pictures of thousands and thousands of bats, and you're like, how do they ever find their baby? They actually can recognize their infant in the mix of a whole bunch of other ones by their scent. It's really kind of cool. So they will find them, and a lot of times people find babies on the ground. Well, if you know that there's a nest above there, again, don't touch the baby without having a towel or something, and if you can get it up to safety and put it back up by the nest, that's the best thing to do. If it's hanging on a wall or something close to the net, leave it be, because the mom will hear it, she will smell it, and she will come down and get it. It's all part of nature. They go and, they know how to take care of their young. They'll come down and pick it up. Okay. So we've learned a lot today. We've talked about the bats, some of the wise tales. Is there any questions that anybody has about a bat that they think that, I wonder what this is, or how can I build this on a bat house, or any questions about white nose syndrome or habitat loss? Feel free to send those questions over right now so that we can answer those. At any time later on, you can always send in some more questions, and they will let me know, and I can always get you the answers for those as well. So just let me know if something comes up. Okay, so let's see. I could sit here and talk all long about bats, but it's kind of weird talking to myself. So I'm getting used to this. I apologize. I usually have a group of people here. I do a lot of classes with schools. I do, a lot with the Girl Scouts and, like I said, the Boy Scouts, and actually a lot of gardener clubs have had me out. A lot of organizations have it, and it's a lot more interesting when you have people asking questions, and I have all these displays and stuff that I can bring with me. But this darn virus that we have going around has kind of slowed us down on that a little bit. So I do have another question coming in. Yes? Yes. Do our Missouri bats hibernate? We do have hibernating bats. We also have winter bats here in Missouri. All of our bats are insect eating. They're not fruit bats. So when you go further south, you'll see some of the fruit bats down there. But in Missouri, our brown bat, our tricolors, which are real pretty bats. You see those like if you go out to Onondaga Cave or Merrimack Caverns and stuff like that, or even a lot of the local caves, you'll see a lot of the bats hanging on the walls. Again, don't disturb them, but typically it's your brown bats, your tricolors, and occasionally, an evening might sneak in there. The winter bats can come in there, but they typically don't. They like to burrow on leaf litter and logs in the ground. So it's very, very common to see those bats in the winter and in summer.
I know you said that you paint the inside of that house, but I've seen people who have stained the inside. Should you leave it bare?
Yes, the question was, some people have painted the inside or stained the inside of the bat house. First of all, we don't ever want to use stain. That chemical stays in the wood, and it can be very, very harmful to a bat. The paint, it's just better on the inside to leave it bare wood. Okay, so when you build your bat house, for a single chamber, you're going to have the back. You'll have the trim around the edge to lay the front boards on. When you lay the front boards on, you'll have a slanted roof, and then you'll come down, and then the last two boards will have a gap in them, about an inch, and that is what we call a vent. And we put that vent on there so that they have some circulation up in there, when they get crowded. Because depending on the size of your bat house, some of the ones that we make can hold up to 200 bats. The smaller ones, of course, are going to hold a lot less, but it's very common. The one we have right now has a returning colony. It had 8 in it a couple summers ago, and I think we just counted, it's already over 30 bats living in this new house already. We just leave them alone, Now, we do have bat houses that we sell with Missouri bat census. All the money that we use, that we do make from these bat houses, when we sell them, all the money goes back into the care of the bats, trying to provide them medicine and all the different supplies and so forth that we have to get, because we are a nonprofit organization. We depend solely on donations to get us through all of this, because most of it is out of our pockets. So, but we love the little guys, so we're going to do what we can to help them every day. Okay. Let's see. What else can I tell you about bats? I always try to think of when I go to the schools what the little ones ask for, or ask me about. They ask about the cave and how they can see flying through there. Again, the echolocation allows them to see as they're flying through the caves and outside. You see the bats flying around in the air in the evenings, primarily at dusk. Reminds me of a time my father, who recently passed, would make little, him and I would take little foil balls about this big, and we'd roll them up, and we would go out. Now, we would never throw them at the bats, but what we would do is go out and toss this little ball of foil up in the air and watch the bats come down and, chase it for a little bit. It was kind of fun, which is when I actually was introduced to the bats at a very young age. So if you do that with the kids, it's good. Just make sure you pick up the foil when you're done and put it in the trash, but don't try and hit the bats or anything, but just watch them. When you see the bats, like fluttering like really, really fast in the sky, you'll see them flying around like this. That's when they're hunting. But then when they start fluttering, they usually are eating in flight. And then you'll see them come up out of it again. So that's kind of cool. But again, some of those who joined us late, I will talk a little bit about the bats again. One bat will eat up to 5,000 insects in an evening. They can fly over to football fields, away to, and sometimes more, to look for food and chase their food around. They love mosquitoes. They don't like lightning bugs. They're not going to get tangled in your hair. They're not going to come after you for blood, because we don't have those here. Some of the, one thing I didn't talk about is the importance of our bats here. We have primarily insect-eating bats here. Well, not primarily. We have insect-eating bats here, which is a farmer's greatest tool, okay? Not only do they eat the bugs, but it saves the farmer money, because they don't have to put all these chemicals on their vegetables that they are growing to keep the bugs off and keep them from destroying their plants. So by having bat houses around their farms, the bats will take care of the insects and the bugs, and they spend less money on the chemicals, which means they don't have to, charge as high prices on the vegetables, and you get a healthier product that way. So they're very, very beneficial to our agriculture out there. They also need bats for a lot of the food that we have. The avocados require that, a bat to cross-pollinate to get those. There's back in the one day they used to actually use bat guano for medication and to make mascara and stuff like that. So bats have been very, very important to us for many, many years, and we want to do everything that we can to keep those bats around for many, many more years. So. Okay, the question is all species endangered by the white nose syndrome? No. Typically, the white nose syndrome has been, well, I guess all of them can get them, but the white nose syndrome is attacking the hibernating bats, the ones that are going into the caves and hibernating, because that's when it's a cold spore fungus that's affecting their nervous system, and that's when they're down in their hibernation point is when they're getting the white nose syndrome, the fungus on them that causes the white nose syndrome. So the wintering bats that are not in caves have not been getting that. some places up in New York have lost entire species, but we have not done that yet here. And the Missouri Department of Conservation and Missouri Bat Census have done a phenomenal job in doing everything that they can to protect the bats, and they are putting bat gates. And so when you go to a cave and you see that it's gated off, and just remember, it's not to keep people out as far as because we don't want you into a cave, but it's to protect them. Most of the caves that are blocked and gated off are because there are special species in there that they want to protect. So don't break through those gates and so forth. Respect them. There are times that they may allow you to go in there, some of them with permits. And you'll just need to contact them on those different caves to see if there's any times that they're going to open those caves up for you to go in. But primarily, they are gated off to protect the bats. And it may not just be the bats, but it could be other species in that cave that are endangered too. So it may not just be the bats. The reason they are slotted is so that the bats and other wildlife can get in and out of the cage freely. Okay. Do you want to? Okay. Well, I think that will conclude us for this evening. I'm glad that you all joined us. Sorry if, it's just a little strange for me to talk to a computer, but I hope I was able to send some information to you. You can always reach out, and if you have an organization that is interested after this COVID outbreak is over with, that we can come over and help on maybe help with bat builds, group and, get together and do that or whatever. We're more than happy to help us or help you help us. We do fill up quickly, especially around Halloween, we get really booked. We primarily don't book too much of our time around birth season or right before hibernation because of the amount of work we have to do with the bats. So just be patient. We will get back with you. Missouri Bat Census has a lot of information on there. If you Google them, they even have a Facebook page. Kirsten is the director of that, and she is a very, very busy lady. So be patient if you send out an information question over to her. She will get back with you on that, because on top of taking care of bats, she does a lot of research and studies and does a lot with protecting, she has that full-time protecting the bats that are endangered and so forth. And she's done a phenomenal program up in Hannibal, along with Missouri Department of Conservation, and we are very, very grateful to all of them for all the work that they've done saving the bats. So give a shout out, tell us hello, be patient, we'll get back to you. We're very, very excited to help you, and we just love that you love the bats and are in getting information to help save them and educate them. The more we educate you, the more that we can get the education out to other people that not to be afraid of them. Let's help them. So I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season and be safe. That was so weird. I feel like, are you sure? I felt like I was stumbling over my words because it was like, I'm so used to little bitty hands are like, can I ask? I had a dog once. That's what the little ones do. We're there talking about bats and they're telling me about their dogs. But God love them. So I hope it went well. I will email, if you send me your email address, I will send you the flyer that Kirsten came up with, the different plants.
Okay.
So if you want to make some copies for them to have here, or, and then, the bat house thing, the plan, I'll send you that. And I'll even send you the link to the Missouri Bat Census. Because it is a really good program, and we partner with them, and but I think I covered everything. It's just weird not. I mean, it usually takes a lot longer because of the questions.
Yeah.
How many do we have? Do we have quite a few people? Do we have a lot of people? Or?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that last week at 6:30.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, thank you very much. Do I need to do anything else, or is it?
You can just go to the top and then it'll be definitely, turn off and everything.
And then I'll do all the stuff I need to do.
Everything in this now, you will be able to choose. Say, where do we? I'm not going to touch that.
Okay.
It's asking one of the questions.
Let's see.